So I've just completed my first British cruise over in the United Kingdom, and I have to admit, as an American, the experience was very different than what I'm used to for traditional cruising, and let's just say it wasn't exactly my cup of tea. Now in this video, I'm going to give you a full, thorough, and objective breakdown of my entire experience from top to bottom, going over the good, the bad, and the ugly of sailing with this particular British cruise line. Just keep in mind as we go through this was my first time sailing with this particular cruise line, so I couldn't get into all of the nooks and crannies, meaning all the experiences and restaurants, as this was a large ship, and well, I honestly don't know if I'll be back. The ship that I will be sailing on for this adventure would be the P&O Iona, owned by British cruise line P&O Cruises. The ship was built in the year 2020, however didn't take its first sailing until mid-2021. It holds 5,200 passengers, has 16 decks, and costs $950 million to build. I will be completing a 7-day Norwegian cruise out of Southampton, UK, which just so happens to be the same city that the ill-fated, believed to be at the time unsinkable ship Titanic also sailed out of back in 1912. The cost of my cruise would be just shy of $2,200. This would of course include the port taxes and fees, as well as $65 of on-board credit for what's known as an accessible ocean view cabin. Before we continue, two things you need to know about booking a cruise with P&O, especially if you are an American citizen. For starters, you cannot book online. You can go to their website, however, they are partnered with Vacations to Go. It's one of the world's largest travel agencies, maybe you've heard of them. You can only book with them for all of your P&O cruises needs. Also, even here in 2023, believe it or not, this cruise line P&O does not have an app. They have no app that you can download for your cruise, and I'll elaborate more on this later on in the video when we get to all the onboard stuff. On embarkation day, or the first day of the cruise, navigating over to the terminal, which over in Southampton, it is Terminal 46 for the P&O Iona. It's pretty effortless and a quick process, regardless of how you're commuting to the city. If you're taking the train or if you're coming in from the airport, it's pretty close over to the port, so an Uber or a taxi ride will set you up just fine. Upon arrival over to the terminal, things were pretty simple. There were definitely a lot of people there. I would say the ship was going to be fully packed at full capacity when I arrived, but from dropping off my bag to getting inside the terminal and getting everything processed and security and all that, I had no problem whatsoever. Upon boarding the P&O Iona, I was shocked. My first time sailing with this particular line, it did give off a mixture of, I want to say Carnival because it is a Carnival brand. It gave off more of an elegant version of Carnival, mixed in with a little bit of MSC, if you will. There's a lot of things that were plated in silver and shiny and new, and well, like I said, it just came off more of a casual, elegant vibe. Once on board, the first thing I did was head over to my cabin located on deck 4. Like I said, it was an accessible ocean view cabin. An accessible cabin is nice if you can get your hands on one, because typically this is left out for people that are handicapped, have special needs in the form of maybe a walker or a wheelchair, as these rooms are larger than your typical ocean view or balcony stateroom, giving you the impression of somewhat having a casual suite on board. The only downside to it is that there are a lot of handrails, and the doors are also automatic that you cannot turn them off at all. So from going into your room to going into the bathroom, be prepared to wait and have the door awkwardly open to the outside hallway or to your bedroom for about 10 seconds or so. Other than that, the additional room inside is pretty nice. After dropping my stuff off in my room, I went to do my muster drill, which was effortless as usual. I just tapped my card, and after that, I was done. And from there, I was able to freely explore the ship. Here's when I hit my first problem or issue. Like I said, P&O does not have an app. Meaning, as far as navigating around the ship and finding out where you need to go physically find a map, or you can go to their website. It's called mypno.com, and well, from there they kind of use that as like an app feature. The problem is, when I booked my P&O cruise, I wasn't given this instruction, so when it came to booking any of the restaurants or any of the excursions, any of the events, the passengers that had already sailed with P&O had booked just about everything. So most restaurants and all of the events and shows were basically sold out. And P&O, I realized very quickly, is not what you would call a freestyle form of cruising. Everything from the shows to the restaurants to even getting some coffee, you essentially have to book it in advance, or you risk the possibility of waiting in a very long queue or line. It's not exactly the most desirable way considering how most cruise lines are operating here in 2023. It did appear that I was left to do things the old school way, just take my butt around the ship and walk around and see all the pretty stuff. When it came to the design of the P&O Iona, it's a relatively large ship. It's their second to newest ship. Like I said, this one came out here in 2020, so it was very modernized. But upon walking around, like I said, I saw some elegant touches. I saw some things that remind me of, let's say, Carnival's newer ships like the Mardi Gras and Celebration, as well as even MSC's newer ships, as I've been on their newest ship that's currently out, the MSC Seascape, and I've been on there twice. And it gave a lot of resemblance of that. And I would then later see that influence as far as the European line later on as I explored some of the entertainment as well. There were multiple infinity pools toward the back or aft of the ship. There were a lot of lounging areas as well. I did notice over at the top deck, it was a lot of confusing ups and downs, lots of stairs that you would have to take, but it did lead to a lot of secluded places. If you wanted some place to be alone and read a book, they definitely had that available for you. When it came to navigating around the ship in general, after a while, a couple days, it took me the longest, I want to say ever, to really navigate and figure out a ship. I was able to do so. When it came to the entertainment on board, my favorite category, I'm not a big fan of, I want to say, Carnival Corporation Entertainment, whether it be P&O in this particular case or Carnival. And well, it was good. It was not great, in my personal opinion, because they did adopt essentially what MSC has done. If you guys see me on MSC Cruise, I have said many times that there are some talented people there. The problem is, and the difference between, let's say, P&O and like an NCL or Royal Caribbean, because I believe they are in different categories, Royal Caribbean will fine tune three or maybe four really good shows as far as, let's say, an actual performance, whereas MSC and P&O, they will have all the dancers do essentially a different show every single day, which doesn't exactly give a lot of room for creativity and flexibility to make the show that much different. It is basically the same show every day, whether it be at the beautiful area, the Sky Dome on board, or in the theater. It was just kind of different costumes and slightly different music using that same LED board that most cruise lines are using in the background of almost every show these days. Due to the strenuous nature of all of the work that the performers are putting in, there were a couple shows that ended up getting canceled. It looked like there was some injuries. They covered it up pretty well during the show as well, that your average Joe just simply wouldn't notice because these performers are extremely talented and they are true professionals. As far as the rest of the entertainment, they did have kind of like, I want to say like a virgin piece connect in there. They had a diva on board, which I had no problem with. I tried to actually see the show, but it was sold out before we even got on board the ship. And well, apparently she was really good. It was very, very popular. I just thought it was very random for the overall vibe on board because considering the vibe, it was very British. There was, of course, plenty of places to get some tea. There was, well, just a lot of quietness and silence around the ship. A lot of people had small conversations. It wasn't very loud. When it came to things like the comic, I would say as an American, I didn't exactly enjoy it. Not saying that it's funny, there's just a different, not funny rather, it's just a different set of cultures. When it came to the nightlife events, there wasn't a lot going on. I was surprised to see that even on board, the casino wasn't packed, it wasn't rowdy, and the nightclub or the clubhouse, that's where they had the nighttime events, there wasn't a lot of people up gyrating until they got comfortable toward the end of the cruise. But overall, it was okay. There were little rascals kids running around, I kid you not, until about 2 in the morning in the area that was considered to be the nightclub as well. Take what you want with that information, but just also keep in mind we were doing a sailing to Norway, so we had about an hour or so of real dark time during the evening hours. So even at midnight, it looked like it was still 12 noon. Not kidding. I did purchase the Wi-Fi on board for, I believe it was $126 for one device, and if you wanted to add more, it was a little bit more. But I do believe it was somewhat reasonably priced for a week-long cruise, and the Wi-Fi worked pretty well most of the time. There was a couple disconnects here and there when we were sailing at sea, which is to be expected. It's tech. What are you going to do? As far as the overall environment, once again, one thing that really confused me was walking around on board the ship. One thing you have to understand about the UK, if you haven't been there, is that they drive on the opposite side of the road. So instead of the right, they drive on the left. And well, it does change things and maybe throw you off a little bit if you come from a place like, let's say, America, where you are driving on the right side. There, I would assume, because whenever we're in a line, we always say, well, walk like cars, right? And for me, when I'm walking around, initially I decided to go on the left, and there were people going on the right. And it was confusing because it seemed like nobody really knew which side of the street we were walking on. And I almost got hit a million times as nobody moved out of anybody's way. And it was just a very confusing situation, in my personal opinion. The food was not horrible in certain places. The buffet was there was only a small selection to choose from, but this is somewhat typical with most Carnival Corporation lines, and oh, I didn't have a problem with it. When it came to a lot of the restaurants, they either had a long digital queue that you had to kind of wait around for, so I only went to one of the spots, the Aqua restaurant, and then I went to an Indian restaurant called Sindhu. Really, really good. Now, it is kind of like an a la carte situation where you don't just pay one lump sum, you are paying per item, but overall, I will say that when it came to the cuisine over there, it was pretty delectable, pretty delicious. The only problem that many people may have is, well, I don't eat ice cream, but there are only two spots to get ice cream on board. There is no free ice cream. So if you want ice cream, you got to pay anywhere between $3 to $5. Can you believe it? When it came to the nightlife and just overall all of the events on board, I will say that there just wasn't a lot. Let me rephrase that. There were a lot of events going on, but at the same time, nothing. You could see everybody that, to me, looked kind of bored out of their mind. I don't know if they need to take a page from Carnival. There is no Family Feud or anything like that. There is a bingo, and that seemed to be the highlight of the event for everyone. There is a basketball court, there's mini golf, and all the regular things you'd see on a typical cruise ship. But when it just came to the vibe, there wasn't a lot of energy going on. Maybe it could have been that we were going up north and we were doing a colder cruise up to Norway, and it was, I will be honest with you, a little bit more of a seasoned crowd. But usually when you go on a ship, you see a little bit more connection, a little bit more energy, the vacation style energy. Even when I went to Alaska, I felt it. This ship, not so much. There was no sail away parties. There was no DJ on board at all. It was kind of like a jukebox selection for the nightly events. There were two things that I did enjoy, however, was the fact that there is a literal laundry room and ironing room on just about every deck, and there's plenty of space available, and hardly anybody's using them. I know the older Carnival ships over in the US, operating primarily in the US, they have them on some of their older ships. I don't know why they stopped doing that. To me, I thought that was pretty cruel because there are a lot of people that are traveling from other places and they may make a mess or some clothes that they want to wear again. They got to rewash them. It can become a process getting all that dry cleaning done. The second thing that I did love overall was the ports. P&O did stay a decent amount of time in all the ports of call. We did have our first port of call canceled, unfortunately, but it's just kind of part of the game. It was inclement weather in the area, but the rest of the ports that we went to, I thought were pretty nice overall. They were beautiful, it was quiet, it was peaceful, and I even tried whale meat. Very, very strange. Whale's my favorite animal. I felt horrible. I'm still thinking about it and feeling bad, but it's just part of the Norwegian culture. One of the most egalitarian and happy places in the entire world. And well, definitely a great experience. I think if I go back to Norway, I'm either going to go not on a cruise ship or potentially with another line, just because of all of the factors that I listed in this video. Like I said, if you want a nice, quiet, relaxing cruise that is not doing the typical normal things that would be more of like high energy entertainment, then P&O is definitely the line for you. The only thing I would say with P&O, they really should just get an app. I get the website thing that they got going on is similar to the app, but it is in no way, shape, or form the same in my personal opinion. It's 2023, P&O, get it together. But this is what I got. Hopefully you guys found this information useful. Like I said, I don't know if I'll do another P&O because there's so many other lines that honestly, from a operational standpoint, are a lot better than P&O. But for a lot of people out there, especially over in the UK, it's what they know, and they've never really sailed on another line except for maybe like an MSC, and it does the job for them. But of course, I have to ask all of you, have you sailed with P&O? Let me know in the comment section below, what was your experience like? If you haven't, would you sail P&O? I'd also like to hear from all of you guys. Hit that like button on your way out. Know that I love each and every one of you. Subscribe if you haven't already, and well, I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.